training. Wow. And we still have a lot of content for you to enjoy and by which to be inspired. I'd like to acknowledge if there are any members of the G team in the audience, perhaps Rudy, and we're glad that all of you are here for this inspirational session. My name's Patricia DeMack and I am a member of Rotary Burlington Lakeshore. I'm part of the district training committee and the co-chair of this event. On behalf of my co-chair, Suzanne Zbinden, and the entire training committee, we welcome you. We've worked hard to pull great speakers together for your training and enlightenment during this past week, and it's gone very well, and it will be going forward. Please remember that any presenters you've enjoyed this past week are all volunteers. They spend a huge amount of their personal time preparing for this event, so don't forget to thank them. Without them, we could not provide this training. On the training committee, we are dedicated to enlightening Rotarians in all avenues of service. If you have any interest in being part of the training committee, we're always looking for Rotarians who are passionate about sharing their knowledge of Rotary. Please let us know if you're interested. Thank you for signing up for this session. We'll go over just a few house rules. It's being recorded, so you can watch it again on demand. And note, please let your fellow club members know that they can see it anytime also. You'll find the link to all recorded sessions on the page that you used to sign up for this session, which is the CLT landing page on the district website. This morning, it is our great pleasure to hear from District Public Relations Chair Dan Dubreuil and his co-presenter James. He'll give you more information about his own background and that of his co-presenter in a few minutes. First, I'll just go over a few more things you should know. We don't want any background noise, so please remain muted for the whole session. And if you have a question, you can pop it in the chat box. We'll compile a list of those questions and ask them of Dan and James when the presentation is all finished. If there's time at the end of the session, we may do a live Q&A, but we'll just watch and see what the time looks like. Last note, if you are signed up for the next public relations session, you will log out and leave this meeting. You get to go and have a break, have some lunch, and sign back in at 1:30 using the correct link for that session. Thanks for your attention, folks. Enjoy the session, and it's over to you, Dan.
Here we go. Thanks, Patricia. And thank you for everybody for taking some time out of your day to spend with us this morning, talking a little bit about PR. This will be, this could be a very informative presentation, or it may be a bit of a review. I took an eyeball of the attendees this morning, and I saw a good cross-section of people who've been around Rotary and been around PR, as well as some people that were probably new to their position. So for those that are new, you're probably going to learn a lot. Hopefully for those who are experienced, you'll still pick up a nugget or two along the way, and it will make your time worthwhile. Yeah, we can certainly, there'll be a lot of content here, but hopefully we'll have a couple minutes at the end of the presentation to answer some questions. Okay. So overall, today's topic is just in general, what is public relations all about? I'm going to talk about the resources available to help you get the job done at the club level. Just touch on brand identity and brand voice, because it's really important when building a reputation for your organization or your club. Then we're going to talk about defining success. What are the things clubs should be doing in order to get the word out to their own club members, and more importantly, the general public and influencers. Okay, and then hopefully we'll have some time for some Q&A. I'm going to introduce myself, and then James Weber, who's going to co-host and who's also on our committee, is going to introduce himself. So myself, Dan Dubreuil, I've been a Rotarian for just 2 years. I retired about 3 years ago. I'm with the Burlington North Club. I'm the director for the district. I spent most of my career in marketing, so I'm very comfortable with the topic. Still have a lot of passion for it. I also squeeze some other things into my life, like travel, skiing, love singing and playing guitar, napping, and walking with my dogs. Over to you, James.
Dan. So yeah, my name is James Weber. I'm happy to be here today to give you a little insight on public relations for Rotary. I've been a Rotarian for about 8 months now, a little over 8 months. I first joined with the Rotary Club Halton I'm the Vice President and Treasurer-elect of the Rotary Club of Halton, as well as a member of the Rotary Passport Club South. I'm the co-chairperson of the District 7080 Environment Committee, a member of the District 7080 Public Relations Committee, and I'm currently working in the insurance industry with an educational background in marketing. And my interests include playing chess, golfing, and boxing.
Thanks, James. Okay, let's kick her off here. As Patricia mentioned, please put your questions in chat. If there's something that Patricia does see that seems to be a showstopper, a lot of people are getting bogged down or confused about something that we're talking about or explaining, we will kind of cut into the presentation and try to address that so it doesn't cause concern. But otherwise, we'll handle questions after the session. Both this presentation and the one that we're going to be giving at 1:30 has already been posted on the PR website, on our district website on the PR page. And as you probably know or may know, this is being taped and it's going to be posted on our YouTube channel. And we'll publicize those links in the coming days, whether it's on our Facebook page or in the district bulletin or memos going out to the individual clubs. Okay. So why, if we think about Rotary, what are our primary goals? We're either busy raising funds or volunteering in our community or looking to increase or maintain membership, or just, for a lot of people, it's creating a forum to build personal relationships and have some fun. At the end of the day, a positive image for Rotary makes all of those things a lot easier. And so that's why PR, I'm going to use the term PR, public relations, or PI, which is public image, or maybe just marketing. I use those interchangeably. So public relations makes all those easier. So a good reputation in the community is kind of the grease that makes those wheels turn. Now, the reality is Rotary's been around for over 100 years. Awareness of Rotary is probably only about 50%. There was a major study done 2 or 3 years ago. So getting awareness of our brand out there is important, but it's not the only thing. We want to make sure that people understand what Rotary is about, because that will hopefully encourage them to get involved. Because as we all, I think, believe, Rotary is a great thing, and we should have more Rotary in this world. So as we think about what our reputation is, this is kind of what I hold close to my heart in terms of we're leaders, we're diverse, we exchange ideas, and most importantly, we take actions to affect in a positive way communities around the world, our own local communities and those far across the globe. So what we talk about through our PR and marketing activities should very much come back to this at its roots. Okay, so that's why PR is important. Let's talk a little bit about resources, and there are a ton of good resources around. First and foremost, there's people. So there is our committee. I'm on it. There's Darren Weber, who handles the web. There's James, and there's Janany. As you know, Janany is an admin for the district, but she also plays a role on our committee. We are looking for other people on our committee. So if you have an interest, please let me know. We're obviously looking for bright and capable people to help fill out the ranks here. But yeah, if at any point in time throughout the year, please just pick up the phone or send us an email if you've got a question about marketing or PR. We're here as a resource. We want you to be successful, and we're here to help, and we'll do that any way we possibly can. On top of that, as hopefully you've gone to our district website, we've got a page on that. On the left-hand side of the page, there is a resource and links guide. Please use that. There are a number of important links there. We've actually thinned out the herd over the past week or two. So what is left there is good stuff. And I would probably point out 4 or 5 different things that you should definitely click on and read, especially if you're new to the role. Rotary is a great organization, and they've taken the time to develop really excellent resource materials. So we've pulled those into our website, and they're definitely worth your time. Okay. On top of that, we've got My Rotary. Hopefully everybody's signed up for My Rotary and you're a registered member. There are great learning resources there. It can be a bit of a daunting place. There are just so many freaking links in My Rotary that you can get lost quickly. But if you go back to this presentation and follow the links, look for 2 things. One is building Rotary's public image, which is a 15-minute kind of online course. And there's one about how to manage a committee for public relations. Those would probably be 2 things I would spend your time doing in order to build up your skills in this area going forward. On top of that, within My Rotary, we have the Brand Center. And the Brand Center has a number of different resources. It's strategies, it's got action plans, it's got logo resources, ads, video resources. It's pretty, large and diverse. If nothing else, you should make yourself familiar with what's there. It doesn't have everything you possibly need, but it's a good start to get some materials you may need to help build our brand and reputation in your community. Okay. Okay, and with that, I'm going to pass the mouse over to my co-presenter here, James. I'm just got to find you on the list here, James. Well, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, there we
Thank
go.
you. Yeah.
Over to you.
Now. Yeah. So telling Rotary's story, voice and visual identity guidelines. So what is the brand voice? So the brand voice is the way that people communicate with the brand. It's the message that the brand sends to someone when they interact with, for instance, a brand image. So for here, we have Dove & Clinique. And when you see these brand images, you get the ideas of self-grooming, luxury for Clinique, beauty, makeup, household products. So these are the messages that you get when you see these brand images. Now, for Rotary, what we want to tell those who come across a Rotary brand icon, identity, or logo is that Rotary is smart, compassionate, persevering, and inspiring. So these are the four main things that we want our audience to feel when they come across the Rotary brand. And so it's an invitation to prospective members to visit a local club. So here we compare two types of Rotary voices. On the left, we have a very bland, general way of not necessarily inviting someone to join Rotary, but just giving them an idea of what Rotary is about. In Rotary's voice, what we want them to perceive is we want to be encouraging and inspiring to our audience to want to join Rotary and to actually want to be a part of Rotary. Not just letting them know what Rotary is, but really encouraging them to join with Rotary. So using our voice in photography. So we want to be choosing images that best describe what Rotary is all about. We don't want to use an image on the left that just demonstrates, boring everyday meetings, because that's not what Rotary is about. Yes, we do have meetings, but we're more than that. On the right, you see that we're about social community. We're about bonding with others and getting to know one another. So that's what we want to express when we're using photography. So for this on connections and community, as mentioned, we are people of action, right? So all of these images that we have shown here, you get that feeling of comfort, community, and inclusiveness as well. So this is what we want to communicate with those when they see an image that is posted under the Rotary brand. Visual identity guidelines. So this is create that Rotary logo and develop the Rotary brand that we want others to get the sense of. Again, we want them to feel that inclusiveness, and we want to feel that bond. So the Rotary logos here, we can see this is what we want the standard to be. We don't want to be using any older Rotary logos. We want the more up-to-date logos. Again, full color. And as you can see in the bottom, we have other options too if the full color basic logos are not cannot fit with the image. We want the logo to complement the image. So here we have common logo issues. And as I mentioned, you want to pick a logo that really works with the image. So on the top, you can see the first logo, the Rotary, the blue, it's very hard to depict on, if it's on a blue shirt. So we want to use the white Rotary logo, and we really want to make sure that everyone uses the Rotary logos properly. As I mentioned, we don't want to be using any older logos. We want the up-to-date and current logo. Here, we don't want to be giving Rotary any border that doesn't fit with the image. So that's what we can see from the last image here. And we don't want to be messing around with, with the way it's inverted, anything such as that. And the common mark of excellence issues. So as mentioned, we want to be using the current Rotary logo, as this is what we want to use, so that every club that's using it, we want it to be consistent throughout all the clubs, right? And you will notice that you do see the older logo used a lot. So we want to get away from this and encourage clubs to be using and educate clubs to use this more up-to-date logo. Rotary leadership colors and codes. So the branding site for Rotary has great resources, and this one has really helped me a lot with my club, especially for Rotaract. Is you can see the secondary colors, the cranberry. This is what I use a lot because of the Rotaract colors. So this is where you want to go whenever you're, if you're putting together a Rotary presentation, you want to be using these colors, again, to keep the Rotary brand consistent throughout whatever you're using it for. And Rotary fonts, again, this is something that is very useful and something that we really want to encourage everyone to use. This is all available on the brand and imaging site on the Rotary website. So, we have all these useful resources at our disposal that can really help you make the Rotary brand. Back to you, Dan.
Thanks, James. Okay, so we're going to just walk through it's called the bare essentials for what what we consider to be success in the area of public relations. So from a club level, your club was successful if first and foremost, it has members that are getting others to get involved and engaged within Rotary. Number two, it's got a well-designed, up-to-date website that is consistent with Rotary's brand standards. And that's what James just walked you through in terms of how we present the brand. You've got a Facebook page with current posts that communicate what your club is up to and other relevant news. You also have an Instagram page that is doing the same. And then finally, you have metrics in place to measure how you're doing, whether you're being successful or not. So we're going to walk through each one of these 5 areas in a bit of detail, just to fully scope out kind of, how we would define success at a district level. And obviously, if every club can be successful, we'll be successful as a district and as a global organization, of course. Okay, encouraging people to get involved. You've all seen this before. You've probably, hopefully, if you've been around Rotary for a while, you've talked about the elevator pitch. I really strongly encourage leadership of all clubs to have their members think about what would they say about Rotary if they had literally a minute to share what our organization is about with a friend or a family or a business associate, with the end point of piquing their interest and potentially getting them involved in some little way, if nothing else, but to ask more questions and learn more about our organization. So I certainly encourage you to go back to your clubs and make sure that all our members are in a good position to give a good elevator pitch. Earlier, actually it was late last year, we had a nice little Facebook contest where we encouraged clubs to interview their members, put it on videotape, and then we posted those literally one minute or 30-second interviews as to why I love being a Rotarian. So if you go to Facebook and type in #780 why Rotary, you'll see literally dozens of examples of different elevator pitches from members across our district. So if you're looking for inspiration or ideas on what your pitch could be, it's a great place to start. Just #780 why Rotary. Okay, I'm going to pass it back over to James. Do you have the most, James? So, I have to give that to you again.
No, I have it. Yeah,
Super.
Yeah, I can show it. Yeah. So second, a well-designed, up-to-date website that complies with Rotary International brand standards. So your club website, you want it to be a tool that your audience can go to if they want to find out information about the club, right? It's not just for members to use. We really want it to be for the external audience who may not be a Rotarian, but wants to learn more about Rotary and what Rotary is all about. So again, we want the design to be professional, reflect the professionalism of our club, And again, we want to make sure that everything that we're posting on our website isn't just for internal members, but really for the audience of those who may not be a Rotarian and may think of wanting to join Rotary. So here we have the website essentials. Obviously, as you can see here, a lot of these things may be very common to you, but to some others not. Really, we want to make sure that we capture everything that someone that is going on a website that they would expect to find, and to make it very easy for them to navigate the website, find out contact information, meeting times, background on your clubs. So all these things are what really make a great website very easy for someone who may not be a Rotarian to go on and to easily navigate. So Club Runner is a great way to learn more about how you can design a website as well. So they have plenty of opportunities where you can join sessions to learn more about how you can really grow your knowledge in Club Runner. And by doing this, you'll be more comfortable with designing your own Club Rotary website.
Thanks, James. I'll just add one more thought about club websites. We actually did an audit, I think it was in January of this year. And I think roughly 3/4 of our club websites were in good shape, meaning they were correctly branded and they had relevant up-to-date information. So for the most part, our clubs are doing a pretty good job there. There's only just 1 out of 4 clubs who are having maybe some issues in terms of the relevance of the content, the use of brand marks, a friendly and inviting homepage. So if that's you, not a lot of work required. Just go in and make those small changes, and we're going to be in good shape across the district. But generally speaking, there's a lot more good news, and we've done a great job on web. But we can't forget how important it is. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Facebook. We actually do have an involved Facebook session starting today at 1:30. Before I dig in, I'm going to let people know Facebook is a necessary evil. I'm not in love with a Facebook company by any stretch of the imagination. But the reality is, for businesses or organizations that want to get the word out, they cannot be ignored. They're a very prevalent part of today's communication landscape. Hopefully they'll get their corporate act together, and we'll see less of the issues that you see on that page in front of you in the coming years. Despite that fact, they still are a tool that can be effective for our clubs to get the word out. Okay, I'm a numbers person. This is a relatively recent data from last year, taking a look at the percentage of adult Canadians who currently have different accounts across the social media landscape. And of course, Facebook is at the top of the list. And what makes Facebook most unique is that they've got really good penetration across all age groups. So whether you're 18 or 55 and older, there's a pretty good chance you've got a Facebook account and that you're using it actively. Roughly 2/3 of people with an account do use it on a daily basis. So these numbers don't necessarily reflect daily usage, but they're a good indicator of how closely people are attached to this product. Okay. So it's big, it's expansive. Reality is, it's also pretty easy to use. Facebook keeps on tinkering with their product. I will argue each time they come up with a new iteration, it's somewhat easier and inviting to use. But most importantly, it's effective. Their whole business is about showing their customers relevant information. So whether it's a post from your friend, a post from a company or an organization like Rotary, or an ad from a company, they've got algorithms busy at work making sure that what you see is in some way interesting to you. Very rarely we get surprised with stuff on Facebook. It just doesn't really work that way. Their business model is to deliver relevant content to each of its users on an individualized basis. Let's talk a little bit about followers. For the most part, I think every club's got a Facebook page, and each club has followers. Some clubs doing a fantastic job. They've got over 1,000 followers. Some other clubs a little weaker. They have less than 200 followers. So we see a big range of followers across the district. I certainly encourage all clubs to build their followers, because it's a relatively easy way to get the word out on what your club is doing. So the news that you post on your page will go to a percentage of your followers. And if it's really good and those people share it, it goes to the friends of friends. So this little graphic, hopefully this is not new to you, but it helps visualize what I'm talking about. So if you've got a page and you've got followers, they're seeing what you post, or percentage of them are seeing what you post. But if it's really good, what you post goes out to the next level, the friends of people, as they share your news. And that's the power of social media. I mean, you can post something one day and, you know, you're going to get potentially 50 people seeing it. But if it's really hot and it catches fire, that 50 people can turn into literally 50,000 people, you know, at the drop of a hat, if it's really good. Now, that doesn't happen too often in the world of Rotary, but it can happen, and it does happen certainly in the broader world. So yeah, let's leverage the power of social media to help us get the word out about what Rotary is all about. Now, one of the realities, Facebook has actually changed quite a lot in the past, let's say 10 years or so. So 10 years ago, if you posted something on your Facebook page as a business, chances are the vast majority of the people who followed you actually saw that post. Well, fast forward 10 years, it's 2021. The reality is your average post that you put out there is only seen by about 5% of your followers. The other 95% of your followers just won't see it. It's not going to hit their feed. The reasons for that are pretty simple, is that there's so much content being poured into the Facebook platform that Facebook just can't show everybody everything that they can possibly see. And so that's one of the key reasons. We're going to go through some other this afternoon for why, you know, you have to think hard about what you're posting to make sure that it's good as it can be. And if it is good, it'll be shown to more than 5%, because that's how the algorithm works. If Facebook detects that content is interesting to several people, it'll start opening the doors for more and more people to see it, so that a post goes from just 5% of your followers to potentially as high as 40 or 50% of your followers. So what are the keys to getting good followers and getting engagement and growing your followership? I'm not going to go through this in detail. It's in the PDF of this presentation if you want to go reference at an important time. But there are some basic strategies in terms of how you build out your content and what people feel is engaging and interesting within the world of Facebook. So I encourage you to kind of use these very, you know, simple strategies or tactics as you think about positioning the Rotary brand and communicating what you're up to as a club. And again, we're going to go through this in more detail at 1:30 today. First and foremost, on top of this, be creative, right? Nobody likes anything boring, yourself included, I'm sure. So as you think about your posts, make sure that you kind of scratch the creative surface. And then finally, as you think about every time you put a post out there, identify who's your target. What do you want them to walk away from after they've read the post? How do you want to make them feel, and what do you want to make them do? Every time you create a post, go through that little mental checklist to make sure that it's a relevant post. Who am I talking to? How are they going to feel? What do I want them to do? It's a very simple checklist, but you'd be surprised at how few people do this. And first and foremost, think about quality over quantity. I know there's maybe a misconception out there that, geez, if I want to get any kind of recognition, I got a shotgun 3 or 4 posts a day on Facebook to make sure it's breaking through. The reality is it doesn't work that way. If people ignore it, if your followers learn to ignore your posts because they're trash, over time, those followers won't even get an opportunity to see your posts, because Facebook's algorithm will say that person's really not interested in hearing from that organization anymore. They never interact with their posts. So you're much better off working with quality, fewer quality posts that you think will generate engagement, as opposed to quantity of posts that just will never generate engagement. Okay. Back over to James.
Yes, and fourth, for Instagram, the same rules will apply that you will see in Facebook as well with Instagram. Of course, there are a few differences between the two social media sites. Instagram may not be as popular with the older age demographics. Obviously, for my demographic, 18 to 24, Instagram's super popular, right? It's also very convenient because Instagram, a lot of people get their news on their phone when they're on Instagram. So it's much like, it's much more preferred, I would say, to use a mobile version of Instagram. Usually when you think of Facebook, people will be at their desktop computer. Instagram, it's all on your phone, right? You don't really see much people on Instagram on their desktop. So why add Instagram to the mix? There's many reasons why you would use Instagram. The power of photos is for one thing, because that is what Instagram is all about. There's no lengthy wordy posts that you would make. Obviously, you add the words to your caption, but it's all about telling stories through one picture that you post on your account. So there's many things. Hootsuite and Buffer, they're great ways to help operate your Instagram account. If you have a club account, you can plan days that you want to post. So you're not always worrying about, did I post this at, was I able to post this? Was there someone else who was supposed to post it? So if you have a marketing team in your club, this is a great way to handle that. And again, there's different audiences for Instagram as well. As I mentioned, there's different generations that prefer different social media types, and for the younger generation, Instagram is very popular. So again, there's more on Instagram that you can find out. Again, this presentation, you'll have access to this, and hashtags are also very important because again, this allows other users to find out more about Rotary through the use of hashtags, and hashtags act as links that when you click on, you're exposed to other posts that share that hashtag. So it's a great way to really get your post out there when others click on that hashtag. And again, making your life easy. So as I mentioned, Buffer, Hootsuite, it's very easy to post Facebook and Instagram from a PC. As I mentioned, you can schedule your posts, so it's nice and automated, so you don't have to worry about always, being sure that you're ready to post on that day. Hootsuite and Buffer will do that for you. And again, using a common message for each channel, removing URLs for Instagram. Yeah, URLs for Instagram is a very tricky thing. I've experienced this, and I've tried posting URLs in my bio for Movember, and sometimes it wouldn't work. So it's a very hectic process. And finally, again, using correct tags and hashtags. So they are different for Facebook and Instagram.
Thanks, James. Yeah,
yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, even though Facebook and Instagram are owned by the same company, you think they would have integrated hashtags and tags, but they haven't. They've decided to keep them separate. And I guess for good reasons. They don't want the overlap to be too seamless. They realize they're different products for different targets. So we should look at that and embrace that perspective as well. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about metrics. We're not going to go too deep. I'm actually probably going to show you some slides that may leave you a little confused. And that's where we want you to pick up the phone or send me an email, and I'm happy to walk you through metrics. I love numbers. I'm a firm believer in this adage, what gets measured gets managed. So if you kind of put yourself to task, you say you're going to do something over a quarter or over a year, and you've actually defined some specific goals, numeric goals, the magic hand of management kind of kicks in, and you find yourself spending more time and attention trying to reach those goals. So let's just take it some very, very, very high level things as it relates to website, Facebook, and Instagram. First of all, there are a ton of easy to find metrics available for those three online properties. For website, each club can have very easily Google Analytics applied to the website, so you can see who's, how many people are coming to your web page and where are they going. For Facebook, they offer Facebook Insights, which is a free tool, as well as Creator Studio. Or you can pay for apps like there are very expensive suites of products, like Hootsuite might offer a very expensive suite of products that allows you to analyze everything that's going on in your Facebook account in spades. But you don't need to buy those. You can use the very simple versions for free. And the same thing goes with Instagram. So the tools are there, no reason not to use them. And we're not looking to go too deep. Some very, very basic metrics can help you a lot. So let's take a look at the first area, which is Google Analytics, which you would use for measuring your success with your website. So what you could do, very easily set up on a monthly basis, just take a look at how many users are coming to your site. Within that 30-day period, monthly period, how many of them were new users, i.e. they came one time to your site in that 30-day period. The bounce rate is, did they go, they came into your site, they landed on one page and they bounced away, came off your site. So you don't want that number to be too high. You hopefully want them to spend a bit of time on your site, go to multiple pages. The sessions is how many individual times. So you can have users and then you can have each user can visit you multiple times. So that would be multiple sessions. And then finally, the time on site in minutes. How much time did they spend on your site? So an effective website would, no surprise, have a lot of users, have a low bounce rate, have a high session rate, high pages per session rate, 2 S's, 3 S's there, and a high time on site. So that's one of those things you can measure. You don't necessarily even have to do that on a monthly basis. You can do it quarterly to make sure that your ship is going in the right direction and your numbers aren't going down. Hopefully they're going up. Maybe they're stable. But relevant content that appeals to your club members and most importantly the outside audience will become obvious if you start to take a look at some of these metrics. And again, you can set up a free Google Analytics account, hook up your website to it, and then you're in business. And again, happy to walk you through how that works. Just give me a call. Another very important thing that Google Analytics can do is show you which pages are being viewed. So this is a quick look, a lot of numbers on this page. Quick look at the district website. And it's interesting, I was looking at this back in February and all of a sudden I saw this traffic appear. Darren had put a link on our website that allowed people to, or gave instructions on how to change your name in a Zoom meeting. So it's a small little piece of information, but it found its viral audience. And all of a sudden we have people from literally all over the world clicking on our district page to figure out how to get that done. Now we could argue whether that should be on our district page and that we basically hijacked our page. But the point is, by looking at where people are going on your website in terms of the total number of people and unique people, you can see what is generating interest for them. And you have the ability to curate content through that learning that is hopefully interesting and useful for your targeted audience. Okay. Okay, so over to Facebook metrics again, you should be looking at on a regular basis. I would say you should do this monthly. How many followers do you have? You want to see it growing. How many posts did you actually put out? You want to see a nice consistent number. How many people were reached by your posts? What kind of engagement did it generate? Did people write a comment? Did people give you a thumbs up? Did people share it? You are looking to generate engagement because again, the Facebook algorithm looks at the engagement score of every individual post and then they decide how broadly they want to share that post. So higher engagement scores mean that more people probably saw your post and they found it interesting. Okay. As importantly, so that's metrics at a high level. Every time you create a post, Facebook will give you a little bit of a quickie in terms of how did it do. So you've got a post here, it was posted on a specific date, shows you the type of post, how many people did it reach, and this is organic or paid reach. In this example I'm showing you, this is all organic reach. There was no paid reach during this period. And then we see how many people clicked on the post anyway and how many people gave it a reaction. So by looking at your posts and saying, okay, well, this one was a dog and this one was successful. If you do that on a regular basis, you'll soon start to learn what makes for an engaging, interesting post amongst your target. And that's what you're looking for. You want these all to be big, high bars with lots of reach and lots of engagement. And then finally, we've got Instagram, and Instagram gives you metrics as well. You can look at your followers, how many people you reached, how many people interacted with your posts, and whether those interactions were likes or comments or saves or shares. Okay. And again, we're looking for Growth over time in terms of followers and growth over time in terms of reach and interaction, that's positive. The insights screen within Instagram is actually on the app itself on a mobile device. You can, I think it's located within profiles, but you can, just as with Facebook, take a look at all your posts on Instagram and see, you know, how many people liked each post. And so if you take a look through your little screen here and say, oh, okay, this one generated 49 likes compared to this one, which only generated 15, you can start to understand what's working for you and what's not. And again, it's a process where you refine your skills to figure out which content is interesting for your audience going forward. Okay, at the end of the day, we covered a lot of ground. As I said, some of it was maybe review, maybe for some of you, maybe some of it was like, what is he talking about? I'm choking on, I'm drinking from a fire hose here, but that's okay. The resources are there, including our team and the website to help you through the year to get you started on the right foot for the new Rotary year. That said, at the end of the day, effective PR will take time. You can't kind of slough this off to like 3 minutes a week. If you want your club to be effectively communicating with its community, it's going to take a little bit of time. You know, I would probably bank, if I was in charge of PR at a club level, I would probably bank 2 to 3 hours a week of time and effort to find the content, to curate it, to reach out to the right people, to respond to people's inquiries, you know, to acknowledge the likes that you get and to really build a strong following. But it's worth it. Again, it's everything we do as a club is easier if we've got a positive reputation in our community. Okay, a couple of final thoughts. Be patient. As I mentioned, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Make sure you leverage each of the 3 channels we talked about today. You can't just, you know, you can't have a one-legged stool. You need a 3-legged stool. You got to have a good website, good Facebook page, and good Instagram if we want to be embracing everything that we can be. Leverage the resources in the district. Stay true to our brand and everything that we do. Please, please, please use a new logo. Benchmark, set some metrics, and most importantly, I didn't spend a lot of time talking about this, but thankfully I see it happening in a lot of clusters. Guelph is doing a fantastic job. So is Oakville, KW as well. Clubs are starting to work as a cluster, and so they have formed essentially kind of cluster communication teams where they're working together on a more coordinated basis to talk about what Rotary is doing, regardless of the name of the club, within their community. And I certainly encourage all clubs to do that where it makes sense. Because it, you know, if everybody's kind of rowing the boat in the same direction, the message is going to get through sooner and more effectively. And that's about it. Just one last thing. We have planned for next month, May 20th, so a little bit more than a month from now, a presentation where the PR committee and the membership committee have worked hand in hand over the past 2 or 3 months to develop a joint strategy. And in fact, we've got a number of programs planned for next year geared to getting the word out about Rotary that are going to be essentially conceived, developed, and delivered at a district level for all cities across our district. So we're going to share what that's all about. We're going to talk a little bit about how clubs can leverage that for the benefit of their clubs. You don't have to do anything if you don't want to, but if you choose to do something, we think that 1 + 1 can equal 3. If you decide to piggyback on some of the things that we're doing at a district level. So we're pretty excited about that. I'm not going to share too much more detail now, but if you can, sign up. The link is currently available on the district website, and yeah, everybody is welcome to attend. Again, if you want to touch base with myself or James, please reach out to us, available at any time. With that, I'm going to pass it back over to Patricia.
Thanks, Dan. I have some comments and questions that have come in the chat box, and I'll pose the questions to you. You may have answered them already, but I'm going to be thorough here and address them. Dean Williams from my club asks, what are the best practices on Facebook and Instagram to obtain followers?
You got to tune in at 1:30, Dean.
Okay.
We're going to cover that in a fair amount of detail at 1:30 to 3:30, which is PR 201. It's really going to be a drill down on Facebook and how to generate followers.
Yeah.
A lot of the learnings for Facebook can apply equally to Instagram as well. So it's kind of a, we're going to talk about Facebook, but they apply to Instagram as well. In a nutshell, it is all about kind of that page I showed you about that list of ideas. But in a nutshell, what is going to make the algorithm work for you so that your word gets out to more people. The more people you get out to, the more followers you're going to gain. In a nutshell, it's interesting content, more likely than not video content that is emotionally engaging. That is going to, hit people where it matters. In their heart, and they'll take an interest in what you have to say, and you start to build a following from there.
I'd like to acknowledge that Rod Craig had a comment, and I do believe it was digging deeper into Facebook. So for anybody who's got a deeper question for Facebook, please re-ask the question in the chat box at the next session, because we'll lose this list when we log out. Omid asked the question, is there a list of hashtags used from RI or even district besides the obvious hashtag people of action?
That's a good question. There very well may be. I certainly use people of action. The way I tend to look at hashtags, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, and again, important to remember, they are different lists. In many cases, the list of hashtags you would use for Facebook are not the same exact list as you would use for Instagram. There's some commonality, but they are not always the same. I tend to look at hashtags from a community standpoint. So my club is in Burlington. When I add hashtags to a Facebook post, it'll typically be targeted at organizations within our community that I want to talk to. Same goes for Instagram. So in Burlington, it'll be Burl On or Burlington, Ontario, or it could be Burlington Moms or Burlington Dads. So putting those hashtags on a post that I put out as a club member, people who are in those communities, let's say the Burlington Dads organization, will see we'll see the post being put on that list of hashtags. We're going to talk about this a little bit at 1:30, but it's important that you pick your hashtags carefully. You want to make sure that if you're putting a hashtag on your post, that it is a relevant hashtag. You don't want your posts thrown in with a general list of other posts from across the community that aren't tailored to the topic at hand. Okay, because generally speaking, people will lose interest in using that hashtag because it doesn't tailor to their interests. People expect their content to be tailored to their own specific interests. So use just one or two hashtags sparingly but make sure they are relevant to what your club is doing or what you're talking about in that post. I'm not sure if that answered your question, but I hope it did.
Thanks for that, Dan.
Yeah.
Dean Williams also asked, does Rotary have specific hashtags that we should be using for our different avenues of service? And he says Linktree works well to overcome the URL issue in Instagram.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that today, but that is an option as well. There are ways to get around the URL option. But let me do the homework on the hashtag things in terms of identifying a list of hashtags that may be relevant for Rotary as a broader organization internationally or at a district level. But the community specific hashtags, I just encourage you to go out and think about it. Imagine you're a concerned citizen in your community and just do a little bit of homework on the search bar within Facebook or the search bar within Instagram to figure out which hashtags seem to be used by community organizations, and then start using those ones as well.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Omid also commented, I think it was partly in response to Dean's question, you can also use bit.ly. And has anyone used Lumi? They are a competitor to Buffer and Hootsuite.
Yeah, there are a number of platforms out there. I think probably Hootsuite was the first one in the game. I think Buffer competes with them in terms of size, but probably the most two popular. but there are a number of smaller players out there that basically offer a range of different products. Fundamentally, you get in most cases, you get a free account that allows you to post to 3 social media channels. So maybe you've got a Facebook page, an Instagram account, and a Twitter feed. Okay, so those would be your 3. They would be free. If you had a 4th, you'd have to pay for the 4th. And you could post what you want from your desktop relatively easily. And you can schedule when that post is put out there. So let's say I want to post my Facebook message today, but I want to post the same thing to Instagram, but I don't want it to go live for 3 days from now. You can do that through one of those tools. Yeah, if you type in Buffer or Hootsuite into Google, you're going to see literally a dozen competitors that each offer different kind of packages. Some may be better than others in terms of the range of things they offer for free. All of them want you to obviously subscribe to some kind of a paid account that has a lot of bells and whistles. It's up to you to decide which bells and whistles you think will be useful for your club.
Thanks, Dan. A question from Rod Craig. Would other clubs be interested in sharing social media metrics with other clubs? For example, general page metrics and event metrics?
Yeah, I certainly encourage that. One of the things that we're going to be doing this year that's a little different than in years past, we're going to have 2 general sessions this year. The first one's probably going to be, well, actually, it's going to be the meeting we're having in May, where the district PR committee is going to talk a little bit about what we're doing at a district level. We're going to have another meeting in the fall where it's more of a sharing meeting that talks about how have our initiatives performed. There will be an opportunity to talk about success stories at a club level, where I'm hoping for club individuals to bring forth, what have they done in the past 6 months or so that has been particularly effective. So a bit of show and tell. So Rod, potentially what you're talking about can fit into that idea, because I think we haven't had any kind of cross district PR assemblies. And that's something I definitely want to do at least a couple of times next year to share ideas and get the word out.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Diane Perron from Guelph South makes a comment and a question here. Club Runner provides a hosting environment that allows clubs to have a website that is not dependent on specific member email, address, phone number. A real struggle with Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. What can a club do to set up profiles for a club that survives membership changes? I hope I'm reading that off correctly, Diane.
I'm not sure I understand that question. Maybe you want to unmute yourself, Diane, and put it out there. Diane? Maybe we'll loop back on that.
Okay.
Sorry, I was on the chat, and when I hit the space bar, it just started typing. Yeah, we found when we're trying to set up social media accounts that we need an email address and a mobile phone number or something to do verification.
Yeah.
And so we're committed to using individual emails and phone numbers. Then if you have membership changes or email changes or something, it causes huge problems in trying to, without giving people access to your passwords.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain amount of trust there. I mean, there are some, business type tools that you can use within Facebook and Instagram. Certainly encourage you to do that. That said, what you're talking about is a real issue. We've had clubs, I think it was one of the clubs in KW, where literally they had like 1,400 followers, and then they lost, the club lost track of its administrative privileges, and the page is still out there and it's floundering, it hasn't put down, but nobody can access it to put new content on it. So I certainly encourage clubs to have a short list of people with administrative privileges, and obviously it's a small trusted group of people who know the passwords for their Facebook page or their Instagram page, and that can be managed quite easily through the back end of Facebook and Instagram. You certainly do not want to have just one admin person at any point in time. Please have at least 2, potentially 3, and they should be either in your club executive or members of your communications committee.
Next question, Dan. The Rotary site brand center requires a sign-in. How do we get the username and password, please?
Oh, geez, it's been such a long time since I've done that. But essentially, if you go to the Rotary website and the first time you go check into My Rotary, if you're not already a user, it's going to ask you for, I believe, your Rotary related information, which could be your the email you use within Club Runner, probably your personal identification number, and maybe the name and number of your club. I'm pretty sure, I'm going on memory here, but I'm pretty sure that's all I would have needed to get into My Rotary. But once you're done and you say you kind of save the changes, it remembers you. So you don't have to enter that information each and every time. You only have to do it once, assuming you stay with a given club, and you're good to go with them. But again, I'm going off memory, but it's pretty easy if you're a first-time user. They'll kind of walk you through the information they need to get into the back side of that site.
Thanks, Dan. Dean has his hand up. If you want to unmute yourself, Dean, and ask your question.
Yes, certainly. I'm unmuted on my cell phone. So to address Diane's question about the double authentication or verification to get into different social media accounts, our club utilizes a free version of Google Workspace, which was formerly G Suite. And with that, you're allowed as many email addresses as needed. And with each email address, you get Google storage. There's a lot of benefits that come along with that. And by having your Gmail email addresses specifically for your club, either directors or different roles. I mean, our club has one for Zoom specifically to log into our Zoom account. We have a media library account. We've set up all these different accounts, and that eliminates the fact that you would have to use a personal email address and to verify your social media account. So there's a lot of benefits there, and it's free through Google.
Good answer. Yes, we actually do the same at Burlington North as well. We have a G Suite account, and all our social medias are tied to that account. So it gets a little trickier if you're using phone as a secondary verification, because let's say it's my phone number, there's a secondary verification, but somebody else was using the account. It gets a little tricky at that point, but there are ways to work through that.
Okay, thanks for that, Dean and Dan. We're almost out of time. I'll throw out some compliments to you, Dan and James, where people are saying what an excellent presentation. And last question, most probably from Robert Galloway. Please explain the difference between the new Rotary logo and the old one.
Okay, let me see if I can go back to that. It's subtle, but oops, where are we here? Let's go back. This page probably does it the best, right? So here's the old Rotary logo, where we had two colors within the logo itself. The words Rotary International were integrated into the logo, and it was fairly hard to read because this was it. This mark of excellence was the logo. What we now have is this. The logo is the word Rotary. That's our logo with the wheel. And in fact, there's another simplified version of this where we actually remove the word Rotary International from the wheel and we stylize it a little bit. So this is the one we want to use, the one that has the word Rotary with it beside the wheel. And we want to use it everywhere we possibly can, as well as we possibly can. One of the things I see, probably the biggest thing I see people doing, is integrating this logo, into other elements of a graphic presentation where other elements of the graphics are encroaching on the logo or maybe cutting a part of it off. Can't do that. It may look good. It may help communicate what your event or what your club is all about. But ultimately it's a big no-no, because we're all trying to build one brand, and the brand logo looks like that, and it cannot be touched. And we certainly don't want to go back to this Rotary wheel, because it's now 10 years, I think almost 10 years since we made the transition. It's definitely time to move on. And I'd say the vast majority of us have, but we still see on occasion the use of the old logo. Hope that
Thanks,
helps.
Dan. I know that if anybody's ordering physical supplies, for example, from Harry, we refer to the new logo as the master brand. So if you hear the term master brand, right, Dan?
Mhm.
That's how to identify the newest logo. Lots of great comments, Dan, about looking forward to this afternoon's session. And I apologize if I've missed any on this long list of questions, but if they're Facebook related, as Dan has already said, they'll be digging in deep this afternoon at 1:30. So I think we have to call the session to a close. And on behalf of everyone across the district, thank you, Dan,
My
for your
pleasure.
service in public relations. And James, thank you for your input today. There's so many great comments in the chat box that people are very impressed and so looking forward to this afternoon, as I am. So thanks everyone for attending. My final comment is, don't forget to tell your peers what you saw and the fact that it's recorded, that they can, catch one, reach one. Is that what Shekhar has been telling us? So reach out and share the presentation or the information about it with the rest of your club. Thanks everybody for attending. Thank you, Dan and James.
My pleasure. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.